Motorsports. The point battle in Top Fuel couldn't be more exciting. And moments ago in round one, it was the number 6 qualifier, Gary Scelzi, taking on number 11, Bob Vandergriff. Scelzi asleep at the switch. Vandergriff goes with the win. And folks, if you thought the Top Fuel points were wild going in, things have gotten even more imposing now as we're with you from Memphis, Tennessee. It has been an iffy weekend here in Memphis. We are with you at the AutoZone Nationals, the Memphis Motorsports Park. I'll tell you, folks who have been watching this sport for years have seen a lot of interesting things happen, but these fans and you have never seen anything like what we've been dealing with in Top Fuel. Just look at the points with the season winding down. Who knows who's going to be leading and who's going to be eliminated by the time this weekend wraps up. First round eliminations, Mike Dunn did not even qualify here in Memphis. Bob Fry?
The unfortunate nature of drag racing is when you have rain, everybody suffers. The fans suffer, the sponsors suffer, but nobody suffers more than the race teams. Top Fuel qualifying was cut down to just 2 sessions. In the first session, Mike Dunn and Team Mopar had a lot of problems. Second run, they got in, but eventually you wound up getting bumped out. Mike, the timing for DNQ here couldn't be worse for you guys.
Well, I'll tell you, right in the middle of a chase for the Winston Championship and coming in here by being 3 or 4 rounds out, not qualifying. Probably mathematically we'll come out of here, with a shot at it, but realistically it's pretty much done, I think.
Mike really just kind of telling it like it is. They will have a shot mathematically at this thing, but I'll tell you what, Team Mopar's title hopes took a real hit here in Memphis.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Gold. Welcome to the Memphis Motorsports Park in Tennessee and TNN Motorsports continuing coverage of the National Hot Rod Association. Listen to these numbers. From positions 1 through 10 in Top Fuel, only 225 points separating the entire lot. That is the closest that the Top Fuel Series has ever been in NHRA history, with 4 races remaining. As Bob Fry has already told you, Mike Dunn gone for the weekend, and so too are numbers 3, 4, 5, 8, and 9 in Top Fuel points. So with that said, let's move ahead and pick up action in round number 2, because despite all the other action that's taking place here this weekend, the story is definitely Top Fuel. Alongside me, as per usual, Steve Evans. And Steve, take a look at the qualifiers, and again, Mike Dunn's name not there.
But at the very top is the Aussie, David Grubnik, the first time he has qualified number 1. And look who barely squeaked into the show in the 16th spot. That is Joe Amato. And again, that's because of 2 qualifying sessions. Here's the pairings for the round we're about to see.
You see who has already advanced. Corey Mack eliminated by Eddie Hill. Other side of the ladder, Bernstein taking out Dixon in the Battle of the Breweries. Head and Vandergriff also advancing. But this is an interesting one right here. Terry Mullins taking on Joe Amato in the second round.
If this was a normal year, that man, Joe Amato, would probably have a huge points lead. He's won 5 races, but he DNQ'd at the first race of the season, went out 7 times in the first round, and that equalized everything.
But he does have 50 career wins. That's number 1 ahead of the 35 for Big Daddy Don Garlitz. And yes, Amato wants his 6th title behind the wheel.
I won a lot with Timmy Richards in the past, and then we had a drought. And now to win again with a revised team, some of the old teams, some new team, and Jim Proctor's the crew chief, new sponsor, Tenneco Automotive, Valvoline, Keystone still behind me. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that when you can win in a 10-year period with 2 different crew chiefs, because this is a very unforgiving sport. It's really tough. It's a mental roller coaster, and it's hard to be the world champion Winston style.
He said a mouthful right there. Terry Mullins trying to pull off what obviously would be considered an upset here, despite the fact that Amato's been struggling all weekend, as you pointed out, the number 16 qualifier.
That's right. The Tennessean goes up against the man from Pennsylvania, who it almost looks like he's trying to give this title hopes away. The last race at Topeka, he lost in the final round to Doug Herbert. Amato needs to harvest some points right now.
Mullins gonna take it.
Oh, how about that?
Pulls off the upset of 470 at 295 miles an hour. The 494 off the light. Watch it again.
I think that Jimmy Prock not only took Terry Mullins a little lightly, but was afraid of this racetrack. The first round this morning, there was cloud cover. At this point, bright sunshine on the racetrack, a little bit timid, and it bit him.
Tough loss for Joe Amato.
We didn't have our act together. You know, we struggled in qualifying, and in the first round we got lucky, and we were just afraid. We were shaking the tires loose, and we backed it up, but maybe we backed it up a little too much, and at least it went down the track, but I didn't see him till the finish line, and he drove around me. But one of them deals. I just hope that Bernstein can take care of Schumacher, and we won't lose any ground here. But anyway, it comes out. We did a couple rounds here. We're tickled pink.
So Joe Amato done for the day, but those folks aren't, nor are you. More Top Fuel next. Welcome back, everybody. Memphis, Tennessee, in the shadow of Graceland. Eli Gold, Elvis Evans, alongside Bob Fry at the far end, Jim Head, Bob Vandergriff. Been an up and down year for them.
It has indeed. He's got a great crew chief, Ray Alley, got all the best equipment, but just hasn't had any luck. Can't buy a break.
Didn't qualify at Heartland Park in Topeka, but in and around all of the ups and downs, Bob Vandergriff, this year has not been a boring one.
We've shown flashes of brilliance where we've been one of the best cars out there, and we've shown that on times we can be one of the worst cars out there. But anytime you start from scratch like we did with a new crew chief and a whole new team, you expect that kind of stuff. But all in all, we've had a pretty successful season. We're trying to build on something for next year, and hopefully, we can keep ourselves in the hunt for the Winston Championship and finish in the top 5 this year.
If he could drag race as well as he plays golf, he would be the Winston champion. The guy is absolute scratch golfer. Jim Head's passion away from drag racing is flying. As it says the Conquest, he flew to this race. He's got an aerobatic pits plane, but right now he doesn't want any aerobatics. He just wants to stay on the ground, go straight and strong, and get by the Jersey's car.
He's going to do it. Vandergriff up in smoke. Jim Head gets the win. A 470 at 297. As the Jersey's car goes by the wayside, and Checkers, Shucks, and Cragen will be around to race again today.
Did you see how high the front wheels were on that car right there?
Talk about the aerobatic flying.
He was doing a little low-level flying.
Now Kenny Bernstein and that guy, Tony Schumacher, set to go. Schumacher's very interesting. Even though he's leading the Top Fuel points, he told me the other day behind the wheel, he's still starstruck by the big-name competition.
It's hard not to get awed when you're pulling up next to the Bud King and Amato and these guys. It's just awesome, But once the car starts, you don't even think about that. You have a job to do, you get up there and you do your job. Because there is nothing better than beating that Budweiser car. I mean, nothing. When you get out of that car, at the end of the track and you've just won and there's Kenny Bernstein, that's pretty awesome.
And there is Kenny Bernstein in the opposite lane from Tony Schumacher of Chicago, Illinois. Now, this could be a pivotal race at the end of the year, Eli, because both of these guys are way up in the points. Bernstein has not won a race this year, but neither has Tony Schumacher. They've gotten to their place in points by going around, and I don't mean just one or two, getting to the semis, getting to the finals.
Matter of fact, in his career, Schumacher has gone to the finals 8 times and has never gone to victory lane.
Dan Olson, crew chief of the Exide Batteries car, walking away. His job is done.
Here we go.
Oh, a beautiful race. Bernstein had the whole shot advantage.
Oh, problems, Bernstein.
Oh, my.
Kenny Bernstein gets the win light, but that is secondary now to his condition. As soon as they finish the quarter-mile run, I don't know if the engine exploded and debris forced a tire to get cut down. We'll have to wait and see, but look at the debris just strewn across the Memphis Motorsports Park layout here.
Bernstein still in the car. NHRA Safety Safari and medical team at the scene instantly. Let's have another look.
Watch it again. Bernstein obviously in the right-hand lane coming at you. Schumacher's done right there.
And Bernstein is going to cross the stripe at exactly 300 miles an hour. The engine
it almost looks like the engine is still going.
The engine stayed together. It wants more. However, the tire somehow got cut down, and you can live with that. You can ride out a tricycle. But when it takes the wing off, as it did in the Bernstein crash, the driver is nothing more than a passenger.
Yeah, the engine never did blow from this angle. The tire was cut down. Watch it again. Left of your screen.
And watch the wing.
Yep, you see? The tire just went right down. The engine's still pumping power.
You lose something like 7,000 pounds of downforce. Instantly, the car's going to go wherever it wants to go and take you along with it.
Scary ride for Kenny Bernstein, who has had his share of scary rides this year. Remember Atlanta, Georgia earlier in the season.
He's out of the car. He's good.
Bob?
Kenny, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm disappointed. The boys did a great job, and, you know, we won the race, I think. But it's tough, and I hate it for the Lee Beard and Mike and the whole Boys of Bud team, Pro All Macro sponsors, because, I mean, we need to win that round. We need to go on and win this race, and now we don't have a chance to today. That's a shame. But, hey, you do what you do. That's all we can do.
Do you have any idea what happened?
Well, no, it was going just fine, and it just I must have just exploded and took the tire with it. But it was hauling the mail. I don't know where it ran, but it was running pretty decent. Yeah.
Kenny Bernstein, okay. Even he thought maybe the engine had gone away and cut down the tire. That wasn't the case. We've got more coming up from Memphis. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Track cleanup wrapping up here in Memphis. Final pair of Top Fuel second round. Eddie Hill, Doug Herbert. A mere pup at the age of 63. Eddie Hill began this business back in 1958. I was 5 years old at the time.
Your own radio show. Eddie Hill qualified on the pole 2 weeks ago in Topeka for the first time this year. Qualified very well here, even though there were only 2 opportunities of 461. That is really stout.
And this guy, Doug Herbert, the winner at Heartland Park in Topeka. They're probably still dancing in Cherryville, North Carolina.
In fact, he has 3 wins on the season. That's 3 times more than he's had in any other season.
Take a look back at this year for Herbert. The Houston and Columbus wins leading up to Topeka last time out.
Doug Herbert, great big guy, very sharp driver. Been working hard on his driving at the Roy Hill School.
Gets away well. Smoke from Eddie Hill, and Doug Herbert is going to advance on. So Herbert at a 475, 300 miles an hour. Eddie going up in smoke earlier, if you're a fan of his, who is a 650 at only 127 miles an hour. So Herbert and Mullins coming up in the semifinals of Top Fuel, and it is Jim Head with the bye run. It's not likely that Kenny Bernstein can come back, and if you're not familiar, you can't bring out another car in the middle of eliminations. Next up, funny car. John Force, it's his season, certainly. Haven't they all been of late? But look at the tightness of the points midway through that pack.
Oh, absolutely. And there's good bonus money from Winston in every one of those positions. And the further down you're on the top 10, the less you get.
Good qualifying effort here. And again, the final round of qualifying took place this morning. That's unusual, Steve.
I can never recall that happening. And nice to see that Corey Lee in the 16th spot is going to get a paycheck. And how about Cruz Pedregon back with his own team, also in the 15th spot.
And there you see what's happened already today. Al Hoffman advancing. Big news from Al's camp. We'll talk later on. But now the highlights of first round elimination. Tommy Johnson and that green Interstate Batteries machine. Cruz Pedregon, the guy who was cut loose by Joe Gibbs earlier this season.
Oh, Cruz will be up for this one, I guarantee. The GoRacing.com car in the far lane.
On these highlights, watch how quickly Cruz gets away on the left of your screen. I mean, Tommy's asleep at the switch, but watch this.
Boy, did Tommy ever need a top-end charge. He was dead late. That is a ridiculously slow light. Something happened. TJ doesn't cut 8 lights, 4 being perfect.
Kristen Powell right there in the JCIT machine. And that is Whit Bazemore with the Kendall colors for Chuck Etchells. Bazemore trying to catch Tony Pedregon for second in funny car points. But watch what happened earlier today here in Memphis. Nothing's predictable in this business. Sayonara. Kristen's advancing. Witt's going home.
Kristen Powell. Brand new in the fuel coupes, but you'd never know it looking at that run.
Now you take a look at the bottom half of the funny car ladder, and you'll see who is still alive. Obviously, John Force, very much a factor. And that's the car he owns. Tony Pedregon on the left, and the Coke colors for the Snake, Don Prudhomme. Ron Capps, his driver.
What a disaster of a season it has been for Ron Capps. His only saving grace was winning for the second time in a row the Big Bud Shootout Labor Day weekend in Indianapolis for $100,000. But other than that, the Snake would like to just forget 99.
Earlier this year, they had something physically wrong with the clutch. They've gotten those problems ironed out. but nobody's been able to keep pace with the force operation. And here, Tony Pedregon, obviously the winner at Pomona, at Dallas, at Denver.
If John has any kind of problems, Tony responds so well. Like here, John couldn't get the pole. Tony did. Money goes into the same bank account. One of the best run two-car operations, one of the most successful in drag racing history.
So now round 2 action here in Memphis.
Two great drivers, and they leave right together. Ooh, Caps had it until he blew the tires off it. Absolutely.
Got away and got gone, but Pedregon pulls down the win light, so Tony is going to advance into the next round of eliminations. That kind of symbolizes Ron Capps' season.
Yeah, it really does.
Now, Kristen Powell. We saw her with the win over Whit Bazemore before in our highlights. Tommy Johnson Jr. getting set to go at it right here.
They start those engines with a huge electric starter. It's actually a starter motor off a helicopter, believe it or not. That's what gets them wound up. They park that in the truck, and the magnetos take over.
Gotta love those burnouts. Gotta love Bob Fry.
Pedal once? Yeah, good job. I didn't even see any smoke off it. I didn't even see any smoke. Caps tried to do that, but it didn't quite work.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a big trouble there for a
Ford
second.
beat Chevy. Crowd goes wild.
Hey, I was worried about 3 things: Snake, Ron Capps, and that Dale Armstrong. And thank God I got a Mustang and Syntec behind me. I don't know if the conditions, maybe we had it hopped up a little much, but you know, you always can't take them too lightly. And I'm happy. I'm kind of pumped up right now. I'm glad to get by that one.
Pumped up is good. We like pumped up.
He and his brother sharing the experience down at the far end.
Again, Kristen Powell, 20 years of age, a sophomore at Linfield College in McMinnville, Oregon. She's a psych major. She'd do well in this studio.
Oh, baby. Well, Tommy Johnson Jr., very comfortable now in this ride. He took over at the middle of the season. In fact, he's been, the last 2 final rounds and 1 Maple Grove.
Indeed.
But what happened in the first round with a .8 reaction time? His foot must have slipped or something happened.
Well, that just shows you the power that he's got there in that Interstate Batteries machine.
For Kristen Powell, a bittersweet afternoon. John Costanza has informed the crew that he's parking the car after this race for business reasons.
And it's going to be parked after this run. Tommy Johnson Jr. takes it with a 499 at 300 miles an hour. So Tommy Johnson Jr. advances. Doug Herbert's already advanced in Top Fuel. Where's John Force? He's next in Funny Cars. After bad weather earlier in the weekend, the fans are sun-drenched now here in Memphis, having a great time. So too is Bob Fry.
With a lot of the bigs going out here today, one of the guys that could really make a move in the points now is Doug Herbert. Doug, you go 7 races, you don't win squat, now you got a chance to maybe win 2 in a row.
Unbelievable. We're just having a great time and starting to like Memphis more and more all the time. We need to go check out Beale Street and have some fun here, I'll tell you.
Now, I don't know what they have down on Beale Street, but I'll tell you one thing, Doug Herbert's certainly having a lot of fun here at the racetrack.
It's always fun when you win. That guy knows that for sure, John Force.
Back, John has 79 national event victories, chasing the record held by pro stock driver Bob Glidden at 85. Bob Gilbertson.
He returned to Funny Car at Gainesville earlier this year after 7 years away. But, you know, they've been working hard. I saw the bunch there at Topeka last time out. They weren't really tickled in the hotel, didn't have a great weekend, but they battled back. But drawing this guy early in the competition is always tough.
Actually, I think I'd rather get him early before they have too many more runs to figure out the conditions here. Normally they'd have 4, they only had 2. So Gilbertson could have a shot here. We've seen a lot of good cars go up in smoke or shake the tires loose or whatever.
There's a good look at the man from Gastonia, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. Used to have an old 13-year-old Blue Max car. You remember Raymond Beadle? That was the car that Gilbertson had before driving an experimental Murph McKinney chassis on that Funny Car of his. He's had some good runs. Englishtown earlier this year, Gilbertson went at 302 miles an hour.
The thrill of his career, really.
Yeah, 507. But watch this battle now.
Back-breaking performance.
Oh, goodness gracious. 492 at 298 miles an hour. Gilbertson got out of the lights quickly, but then quickly shut her down. Watch it again.
And the speed tells you there's more where that came from. John Force doesn't appear to have to pedal the car at all. By that I mean just kind of slap the gas to try to get traction back, because he never lost traction. And as he likes to say, all the candles were lit.
Here's Bob and John.
On the weekend when they're auctioning off all that Elvis memorabilia out in Vegas, here you're trying to steal this win. And
I love Elvis, but I'll tell you, she was rock and rolling out there about 1,000 foot. She had the front end up. She was rattling. She was shaking. And that, boy, she's trucking right down through there. So we're kind of excited. I just heard from Bernie on the phone. She ran 92. So we're excited about that. Got to do Visty on people out here looking at us again, trying to see if we're earning our paycheck for Casserole and everybody. But hot dang, them boys, old Coyle and them impressed me, Bernie. I have to tell you, amazing.
Look at Bob just reaching that microphone. The boy's still talking and walking.
He's like me. In fact, one time I just said, to be continued, and walked away, and Force just kept talking.
Al Hoffman there with no sponsorship on the side of the machine. His plans for the year 2000 now finalized. Bob Fry will talk about that later on. And Gary Densham, the veteran school teacher on the other lane.
How do you do this on a school teacher's budget where you get a good sponsor in NEC and you do all the work yourself along with your students in the industrial arts classes, of course?
That really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, you build your own trailers, you fabricate things that most people have to buy. Then there's Al Hitman Hoffman from Umatilla, Florida. Got a rather gruff exterior, but he's a pussy. Can't you get to know him?
I'm telling you said that. Up in smoke goes Densham. Al Hoffman is going to be racing again later today. A 5:13, 272 miles an hour. Numbers that were sufficient to get the win here. So the semifinal pairings, Al's drawn himself a tough customer in Tony Pedregon. And the other matchup's going to be a dandy, too, in light of how well Tommy Johnson's been running lately and, of course, the way Force runs all the time to the far end.
how about that Al Hoffman going to the semifinals and gets lane choice over that Castrol car?
Yeah, we're proud of that. This is the best we've done all year. And with the help from Jim Dunn and his whole family, I really appreciate it. And can't wait to go out there and try to do it again for Pontiac.
You take extra special pleasure if you can take out Tony in the next round?
Whoever's in the other lane, whatever. I'm just trying to win a few rounds here and get in the top 10. So they broke it when they lifted it up before. My body's falling apart over here.
It's the whole news. Mr. Warren, Al Hoffman.
Oh, we got more coming up with Funny Car later on. But next, those folks are waiting for the Pro Stocks. We are too when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Kenny Bernstein and his crew in the pit area trying to figure out what happened in their accident earlier in the day. Fans getting settled in now for Pro Stock. Take a look at the points.
The Johnson family, no surprise, dominating the top two spots. Mike Edwards moving up to 7th after his win in Topeka, the last race on the tour.
And there you see the qualifiers. No surprise again. Warren Johnson in at number 1. Richie Stevens, kid number 5. Larry Nance is in, draws Warren Johnson in the first round of eliminations.
Just qualifying for Larry Nance in the Mopar car was absolutely huge. And here was that first round matchup. This was earlier today. Larry Nance, all 6'10.5" of it, former power forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers against the professor in Pro Stock, WJ.
See that? Nance with the whole shot. And watch this. He flat outruns the professor. A 7 flat to a 7:04, and Nance advances.
I beat Warren, who's, one of my heroes out here, and so he must have made a big mistake, but it feels good, and I'd like to thank Mopar for sponsoring me this year, and let's see what happens next round.
Big mistake here was just lining up against Larry Nance.
He had DNQ'd, didn't qualify 12 times this year. So now look at how the matchup goes. There's another Johnson and Nance's future. And look at this matchup again. Jeg and Troy Coughlin. Jeg has owned Troy this year, and this is one of the reasons why. Watch the highlights again. Jeg on the big hole shot.
Also some great car control on Jeggy's part. You see that car wanting to go towards the center line? He wouldn't let it.
7:01 to the 6:99. But the whole shot was the story. Bottom half of the ladder. Jeg is going to draw George Marnell coming up in second round action. So now we pick up action in the second round. Larry Nance, he's done a good bit of testing of late. Says he has a couple extra bucks. They do some testing. Kurt Johnson, he just tests it by going to victory lane seemingly when his daddy doesn't.
One thing Kurt knows here, the athletic ability of Larry Nance pays off on the starting line. He's got that hand-foot coordination thing down pat. I mean, the guy played for many years in the NBA. In fact, he won the first ever slam dunk championship. Do you remember that?
I sure do. Larry Nance and Kurt Johnson. Nobody works harder than the Johnsons do. And, of course, Kurt with his crew chief, Jeff Purley, they're a tough combo.
You may have noticed that bit of duct tape on the side of Kurt's helmet, like a blinder, really. So he doesn't see the other car and is not distracted by what it does on the starting line. See a lot of guys doing that now.
The orange Mopar, Larry Nance. Blue and white AC Delco colors, Kurt Johnson.
5-speed transmissions, 500 cubic inch motors on gasoline, pair of 4-barrel carburetors bigger than a trash can.
Now Nance took care of the daddy, but the son comes back to avenge it. Kurt Johnson at a 696, 198 miles an hour. Nance at a 703, 195. Watch the start.
Pretty close, right together.
Good even get-go right there, whereas Nance had gotten Warren Johnson on the whole shot. And at the finish line, Kurt Johnson pulling away to the win. Let's go to the far end.
Whoa, little short Chevrolet driver beats big, tall Mopar driver. Can you figure out which one's which? Nice win.
He's been eating more Wheaties than I have. That's all it is. Thanks. You know, we changed everything but the paint on this AC Delco Chevrolet Camaro. That running, it actually was the smoothest run we've made all weekend in low gear. It had to be a fairly decent ET.
And a 696.
96. That's better than a 701 from the last run.
Larry Nance and I were exactly the same size shoe, and I'm only 6'2". What happened?
You don't eat your Wheaties.
Apparently not. Tony Gillig in the near lane.
Mike Edwards across the way in the Duco blue and white entry. This is a great family operation. I just like teams and families that work hard.
Looks a little bit like Kurt Johnson in that photo, and he's running a lot like Kurt Johnson, too. A 696, that's a stout number.
But he's facing a guy who's already won the U.S. Nationals in his career and is a great reaction time man.
Mike Edwards is a very religious man. And if he keeps cutting lights like he has, there's going to be a lot of pro stock drivers going to the church services on Sunday morning. Believe it. He does it again.
Reaction time, Edwards. A 4:25 reaction time yields the 696 at 197 miles an hour. It's almost predictable now, Steve.
It's like he hears the relays in the Christmas tree or something. Because you try to leave on yellow. If you wait to green, you're dead late. You leave too early, you get the evil red eye, get disqualified. This man has found out a way to just unscrew the red bulb as he goes by.
Mike Edwards picks up the W. And he'll get the winner of Jeg and George Marnell coming up a little bit later on. Meanwhile, down in the pit area, work continuing in the funny car division. And Bob Fry has made his way down there to visit with Al Hoffman. Oh, Bob.
It's been a while since we've seen Al Hoffman in the semifinals. And now it looks like a lot of stuff going on back here. But you tell me this is just kind of routine. Tell us about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Just general maintenance. We nicked a few sleeves and pistons on that run. But we're still trying to get this thing straightened out since Sonoma there. And it's going in the right direction, obviously. It's the first time we've gone a couple of rounds, since we started this year. So I'm real pleased with what's going on here for Pontiac and all my sponsors. And Jim Dunn, he's done a great job helping us out here and didn't have to do that.
Got lane choice in the semis. Is that important?
I don't believe lane choice is real important out there today. The lanes are pretty good. Safety Safari's done an excellent job out there.
So this great team doing a little routine maintenance, trying to get out back to the winner's circle.
For a driver to become one of the cars. Sometimes the front end's not even touching the ground.
It's like a jet engine.
When it's really pulling hard, got my head up against the back of the roll bar, there's a little smile on my face. I know it's on a good run.
GoRacing.com will put your head against the roll bars.
Burnout's underway, and now we're into the continuation of round number 2 of eliminations for Pro Stock. Jeg Coughlin and George Marnell George has had trouble getting past the second round. Lost in round 2 at Pomona, at Phoenix, and Richmond, and St. Louis.
And not all of that has been a loss of power. George has to take some of the blame for that right off of the starting line with the Dynamax car. He's had some problems in that area. A masonry contractor from Las Vegas, Nevada, and just as happy as his countenance looks in that picture.
He is a nice guy. Meanwhile, he'll be facing that man, the Jegs team for Jeg Coughlin. He's won at Pomona, at Denver, at Brainerd, Maple Grove, a couple races back. And you talk about reaction time.
Ooh, this kid's a killer.
And if George can't get the light that Jeg does, this one could be over early.
And George did take out Alan Johnson, the other Mopar, in round 1, and he's a tough leaver. So George maybe is on his game today.
Let's watch. Reaction time for Jeg.
It's all Jag.
The win for Jeg at a 695.
Whoa.
198 miles an hour, a 441 reaction time. Marnell at a 707.
Just good, solid performance. I think visually you can see the yellow car lead first right there.
And look at Marnell head towards the wall, too. He's out of the groove.
You got to stay in the groove on this racetrack. It's had so much rain on it. A lot of the good rubber's been washed away. And the real quick spot is the center of the racetrack.
And that's how she ran out towards the finish. Jeg advances here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Give me a prediction. What's it going to take? What kind of light to be first off the line in the semis against Edwards?
Well, you know, you never know. I mean, it's every race is different, but certainly, you know, when we go out there, we try and cut it down as best we can every run. And I'd say a good light's going to be a 430 or better.
I'm thinking 425. You might need that to get off the line first.
I would agree with Bob Fry, and Jeg just had a 4.4 light, which is solid but not spectacular.
There's the kid, Richie Stevens. He's got Steve Schmidt opposing him as the fans are getting their thoughts together on how their favorite's going to do.
Richie Stevens uses Finish Line engines, just 21 years of age, already a winner on the trail. Beat John Nobile in round number 1. And the kid, he's got that polite Southern young man about him, but yet he's got a wonderful personality, very outgoing.
3 career wins for this guy in 7 finals. That's Steve Schmidt, runner-up in the Pro Stock Challenge at the Mopar Parts Nationals earlier in the year.
Steve Schmidt is an engine builder, has a fabulous facility in his hometown of Indianapolis.
Good drag race. Stevens, the Englishtown winner, pulls away. A 696 at 197 miles an hour to Schmidt 706 at 196. So Richie Stevens, the kid, all of 21, as Steve told you before, will draw Kurt Johnson. I'm looking forward to seeing this battle.
Oh, yeah. This one could be won right off of the starting line. Mike Edwards against Jeg Coughlin. Edwards is the guy Bob Fry thinks will cut like a 4-3 line.
You know, folks, you can't go anywhere here at Memphis this weekend without hearing the rumors about the year 2000, who's driving where, what, and so on. Bob Fry will separate fact from fiction for us.
Hey, it's that time of the season, you know, silly season. A lot of rumors flying around. Well, here I am, Bob Fry, to set the record straight on what will or will not happen for next year. First of all, I will not be a crew chief on the top fuel car. At least not one that qualifies. But now let's get really serious. Dale Worsham's going to have 2 cars next year for Checkers, Chucks, and Cragen, and Frank Pedregon's going to drive one of them. Hey, Frank's driving for Dell. Who's going to drive for Jim Dunn? We got the answer to that, too. It's going to be Al Hoffman, who's going to drive for Jim Dunn and the Moon Eyes team. Now, if Al's driving for Jim Dunn, who's driving for the Al Hoffman car? Well, we got that problem solved, too. That's going to be Corey Lee coming over from the Pioneer car. At least, that's what we hear at this moment. A lot of rumors going on about teams that will have 2 cars. The Matco guys may have 2 cars next year. Alan Johnson and Team Winston may have 2 cars next year. Looks like Bruce Sarver may be driving the funny car. And in Pro Stock, look for Team Amico and Alan Johnson to team up with Dave Blaney of NASCAR fame for a lot of promotional efforts for Amico next year. And also the final rumor, we're not sure if this is true or not, but we hear that Eli Gold may be playing quarterback for Alabama next season. All right, maybe halfback. Left tackle?
He's a sick human, Bob Fry is. Funny car, coming right back. Welcome back to Memphis. Tony Pedregon getting set to take on Al Hoffman. Why don't we go behind the wheel now with the man who is number 2 in points and find out what his goals are for the rest of 1999.
to be able to get the year started off right, come out, win Pomona, having won 3 races with a few to go. I think our goal right now is to try to pull off a few more. And I think if we can finish strong, regardless of what Bazemore does, whoever else does, as long as we can state our game plan, I don't think we can be caught.
Got to have that confidence, and certainly they've been able to back it up this year, Steve.
Well, according to what Bob Fry says, next year when Tony or John Force line up against Al Hoffman, he'll be in that Jim Dunn Moon Eyes car. And you can bet it'll be yellow. And that could be John's newest nightmare. Jim Dunn and Al Hoffman teamed up together. Tenacious engine builder, fearless driver. If they don't kill each other, there'll be trouble next year.
Al Hoffman, been an up-and-down year, had to make the change with Jimbo Ermolovich mid-season, letting his crew chief go, decides to do things basically on his own. This weekend, though, the team seems to have turned the corner.
Yeah, they certainly have. In fact, there's a pool already going on in the pit as to how long the relationship will last. And I saw one guy, he picked the day after the first day of testing. It's when they split, before the first race of the year 2000. But I don't think so. I think they can get along if they work at it and really be a story next year.
Al Hoffman in the Pontiac. Don Medlin and the crew tuning on the Tony Pedregon funny car.
You can see that aluminum hinge piece just in front of Tony. That's fire protection for his hands on the steering wheel, something John Force and crew invented and a lot of other teams have adopted.
And we talked about a lot of things, but that team, that whole Force organization, really responsible for a lot of safety innovations.
Absolutely. Their newest one is a little fire extinguisher down in between the pan and the bag that goes around the pan, and they are sharing that with everybody. So the speed secret is to keep your car from burning down. Put out the little fire before it's a big one.
Goodness gracious, some power there for Pedregon at a 5:01, 302 miles an hour. And you got to watch the replay. You see how Tony was deep staging here?
Yep, that means he just moved in about 10 inches further, positioned himself closer to the finish line. But it hurts your ET because you don't have the momentum of the car rolling through the beams at the hit. Oh, look at this. In the lengthening shadows this afternoon, how about that? I'll tell you, those 16 cylinders are lit there.
All working. Let's go to the far end.
5:01, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's really not too bad. You got to watch old Al. I didn't mean to. I rolled in a little deeper than I had that light flickering, and I wanted to go in a little bit more, but you got to watch that guy. But great job for Medlin, and the guys are hanging together. We might have hurt the motor a little bit, but as long as it's intact, that's good. We finally made it to the final round, and hope I get to race the boss.
Hey, who's going to win this one?
You know who I'm pulling for. I'm pulling for Tom.
I thought it might be a trick question.
He better be pulling for John Force, his boss.
When John does those long burnouts, he is a photo op for everybody in the grandstands. From the Nikon 35mm, the little box camera, you can just see him go off. Here's DJ's answer.
And that guy right there, Tommy Johnson Jr., has already shown he can compete with the elite in funny car. As a matter of fact, because he's done so well here in the latter part of this season, he told me the other day he's really looking forward to the 2000 season.
I think funny car next year is going to be a lot tougher than what you saw this year. A lot more closeness in the racing. A lot of new teams coming on board, and me getting an early start and get my experience this season was planned so we can have a run at the championship next year. So I think you'll see a good funny car challenge next year.
Eli, I have to agree with TJ. I think funny car next year could be a lot like Top Fuel was this year. Very tight, very competitive.
Steve, you've seen this business for years. What is a guy's mindset when you line up against a John Force? What do you have to be thinking? Do you have confidence, or do you have to hope the other guy makes a boo-boo?
Well, every man will tell you, except in the case of a pure personal grudge, which there isn't here. You race the track, you race the tree, you try to do the best you can, and that's why Kurt Johnson has the blinders on the side of his helmet. He doesn't want to see the other car.
This is Tommy Johnson Jr. against John Force.
Born to race. Tommy Johnson Jr. Stock cars, motorcycles, drag cars, Top Fuel, funny car, it doesn't matter. Steering wheel, give it to Tommy. They leave together.
Good look at Tommy Johnson pulling away. A 499 sends John Force to the house. Hey, Wes Cerny's even smiling.
Oh, baby, Wes Cerny grinning ear to ear. Tommy Johnson has definitely arrived in the Hot Rod Magazine Interstate Batteries car. Joe Gibbs, wise choice. Tommy had never driven a funny car, right? Let's take a look again. Let's see if we see a drop cylinder on the Castrol car on the near side of the racetrack. There's John faded? Not really.
Looks good.
Looks good.
It's out of the groove a touch and heads over towards the center line.
You got to think in the bell housing, that clutch just wasn't applying enough power to the racetrack.
Yeah, a lot of smiles, a lot of handshakes, and there's Wes Cerny with that big old shove and push.
When you beat John Force, it's like you've won the race.
Really is. 10th race that man has driven for Joe Gibbs. That's a happy bunch, undeservedly so. Tell you, when you get hot in this business, it really is something to see. Bob Fry's down there now. Bob?
Hey, man, just another average round win over John Force.
Yeah, first round win over John Force. Don't kid yourself. He's the toughest in the business, and first win, and you know how hard these guys are to beat. They do a great job, that Kestrel team, and the guys on this Interstate Hot Rod Pontiac, they're doing a great job, and we're finally getting it done. It's all coming together, and this was all for next year, but I think we got a little early surprise for him.
John is awfully tough, but right now this guy might be the toughest in the business.
And he is psyched, no doubt. He's got Tony Pedregon, though, in the finals, but at least he is in the finals. As for John Force, what happened? Let's find out.
John, it doesn't seem to make any difference who drives that green car. It always gives you fits.
Yeah, old motor just, I don't know what happened. It just kind of trucked down through there, and he went out there, and hell, I didn't have a clue. Just didn't seem to have no power. Wasn't spinning the tires, wasn't shaking. Didn't seem to have a hole out. Just kind of did what it did. But heck, Tony and the Syntec cars in the final with Visteon and Ford and everybody. So I'm going to get me a beer and watch this round, buddy.
He puts it all into perspective. Pro Stock's coming up with the semis next. Welcome back to Memphis. It's the Kurt against the Kid. That's the matchup here. As Richie the Kid Stevens, all excited that Valspar sponsorship going to be back through the year 2001. And boy, does that take a load off of a racer's shoulders.
Especially Richie's dad, who's been financing this thing out of his wallet. I think this is a pick-em deal. They're both great levers. You look at the reaction times over qualifying the first two rounds. I wouldn't bet a sou one way or the other on this one.
Kurt Johnson, last time he lost in the semis was at Brainerd. Lost to Jeg there. This is a tough assignment. Stevens has been good since everybody got here and watched it started raining on Thursday.
And that has changed a lot of the chassis setups. Let's remember, these cars are not solid like funny cars and dragsters. They have shocks and springs, and four links, and all kinds of things that have to be adjusted, ballast to be moved around to make them work. Ooh. Stevens goes in. Kurt's in. Advantage Stevens.
Light to Stevens. How about it? Of 692 to the 694 of KJ. 197 miles an hour. And actually, Kurt Johnson had reaction time.
Yes, he did, by just a couple of hundreds, but that's significant. You're not seeing 200-mile-an-hour speeds from these cars because of weather conditions, not so much the track. There's so much humidity in the air, it displaces oxygen, and they just can't get that big oomph on the other end.
And from 1,000-foot mark down the road, it's all for the Kid, as our Kid Bob Fry is there to meet the other Kid.
We'll definitely take that. I guess you should. You came out of the #1 spot last race and got beaten in the first round, and now here you're going to the finals here. Great job. Good driving, 692.
Oh, and 692, really? But I ought to get a lane chase, I hope. Kurt was a tough customer. I've always raced Kurt and kind of been a little nervous because he's one of the ones I've always looked up to as I've grown up. But we finally got the Valspar car, another final. Tommy and John and my crew done a wonderful job this weekend. My dad and everybody else that's helped out. This is great.
Richie, you've either been very quick on the starting line or you've gotten that red light a couple of times. You're going to be thinking about that going up to the finals?
No, I put that out of my mind. I've been last couple of races I've kind of screwed up, but I think I'm on my string again, and hopefully I can get a good light in the final.
Well, he wasn't going to, Bob, until you planted that right in his brain.
I'm interested in talking about this matchup here. Remember, two great levers, Mike Edwards against Jeg Coughlin. They have both won on reaction time more often than not this year.
True.
Riding on board Jeg's Oldsmobile. One of the few Olds Cutlasses still around.
Yeah, you're right. And I asked Jeg Coughlin Sr. why they run the Olds. He said, we couldn't seem to do a factory deal with Pontiac or with Chevrolet. We're used to the configuration of the Oldsmobile. We know how it works. We know where the downforce is. So we're going to stick with it until a better offer comes along.
The 1998 Rookie of the Year, Jeg Coughlin, against Mike Edwards to go to the finals.
Ooh, great start by both guys.
Good drag race. At the finish, Edwards at 693 to Jeg 695, 198 miles an hour. You don't see better reaction times than that.
He's going to lose lane choice to Richie the Kid, who had a 92. But let's watch again. A little slight starting line edge to Jed Coughlin. Not all that huge. Nobody was late, that's for sure. And right there, he got a little loose. The Oldsmobile did in the near lane, and that cost him.
By that much at the finish. Let's ride with Jeg.
Ooh, look how hard it is to keep that car in the groove.
Wants to skate around just a little bit. Great onboard look, and that gives us a good matchup of youth against experience in Pro Stock Finals. Mike Edwards, Richie Stevens, pick your favorite. Meanwhile, the top fuelers are ready, and we're going there next. Welcome back, everybody. It's turned out to be a beautiful day for racing after a late start all weekend, lots of rain, and even qualifying here this morning. Eli Gold, Steve Evans, Bob Fry, and Terry Mullins. And that is Doug Herbert for Snap-on. Remember the winner at Heartland Park in Topeka last week, and now in the semifinals here. Remember at the top of the show we told you how tight the top fuel points are? Well, Doug Herbert told me earlier in the weekend that all of a sudden he's thinking championship again. He likes that.
There's a lot of pressure on the guys that are in the top couple positions because everybody's so close behind. They know that if there's any small stumble, they're going to get past. And so now, actually, I'm in a pretty good position because I got nothing to lose. So we just go up there and do the best we can, and whatever happens, happens.
And with Bernstein gone, Amato gone, Schumacher gone, Salzi's gone, Dunn didn't qualify. Herbert could pick up the pieces here. Terry Mullins would like to be the spoiler there. This is the best he's done maybe ever in Top Fuel.
Just doing a quick look here. Herbert, if he wins out, could actually leave here fourth in points.
Unbelievable.
Let's watch this. Oh, it was going to be a good drag race. Herbert eventually hazes the tires, and once Mullins got out of the groove, it was done.
But look at Herbert's reaction time, and that's without deep staging. It's a pro stock quality reaction time of 4.4. Dougie is on.
When you're hot, you're hot, and he has been of late.
Well, Doug Herbert has hot rod in his soul. His father, Chet Herbert, one of the pioneers in the sport, still active. His Aunt Doris was the publisher for many years of Drag News magazine, which in its heyday was really the Bible of the sport.
Here's Doug and Bob.
Hey, man. Some days you're the bug, and some days you're the windshield. And today,
we're the windshield today. All right, I'll tell you what. You know, old Settles over there is no slouch, so I'll tell you what, we're just happy to be here. My guys are just doing a great job, and this is a great day. It's looking like a long day, but it's a great day. I'll tell you that right now.
Don't you really throw your helmet back into this chase seriously now?
I hope so. That was our plan. We just wanted to sandbag a little bit to get everybody to forget about us, and we sneak attack from behind.
Don't you love it when a plan comes together? Although, I don't think that was really their plan.
This guy's like an old lounge act or something.
So he's a big galoot. I always wondered what a big galoot was. It's Doug Herbert. How about a teeny little burnout there? That was a wimpy deal for Jim Head, but he's been doing that lately.
And it's a single run. Remember, he was matched up against Kenny Bernstein, but if you missed it earlier, Bernstein had that big accident in his run against Schumacher, which he won. Bernstein was able to walk away, but the car can't continue. So Jim Head will take this single. Now, what's on the line here? Obviously, he's automatically in the finals, but he could get lane choice.
I'm not sure lane choice is a big factor. More importantly, I think, for this crew is to go out and try the combination you're going to run in the final and to see if it works, see if it hooks.
Little on-site R&D as dusk begins to settle in here in Memphis. This day's activity is about 2.5 hours behind schedule because of that unusual qualifying session early here this morning.
It's a little like in football when the quarterback sees a flag, he knows it's a defensive penalty, and he's got a freebie.
It's a free
so
play, yeah.
Go long, student body long. What the heck?
So we know the final will be Head against Herbert. Let's see what Jim Head's punch pulls out of the hat here.
Ooh, he's going for it.
This is going to be a good final later on.
He could have saved it. He didn't.
475 at 294 miles an hour. Remember, Herbert before was a 467 and 305. If you like to compare numbers, don't know how far that'll get you. But nevertheless, Jim Head is ready to go racing in the finals against Doug Herbert. Jim Head always has interesting things to say. Let's eavesdrop.
You got him right where you want him, man. A 475.
Do I have a bye round next round?
No.
I think I have Doug Herbert. He ran pretty good, but we're hurting the clutch pretty hard on this thing. We need to fix it. I think it'll be better.
I don't think a 75 will be good enough to win it. Do you?
No, I don't think so. Doug just ran a 67, and he 60'd him to death last weekend, and we're going to have to step this thing up.
The finals just around the corner. We're coming back on TNN Motorsports. Hope you can stay with us at the Memphis Motorsports Park. We'll be right back. Nighttime in Memphis, Tennessee, where we're still at it. We're glad you're with us here on TNN Motorsports. We are set for the finals. Pro Stock Truck. First time we're seeing them on our telecast today. Randy Daniels and Brad Jeter. Daniels, the winner at Pomona and Atlanta. Brad Jeter has won at Richmond. Of course, we've got a couple of guys right here who have had successes. Look at how they made their way through the ladder.
Yep.
To the point where we are right now.
Tremendous field in Pro Stock Truck, almost as many as the Pro Stock cars. So a lot of them went home. First thing you notice from the grandstands, the truck has a bed, but look at the difference in the wheelbase as the camera pans down. It's like 27 inches longer than a Pro Stock car. There's small block motors, 358 instead of 500s. They still use the 5-speed transmission and Pro Stock suspension. And they could be a bear to drive. They want a sweet spot, according to Mark Osborne and some of the guys I've talked to. They want to go out there and find just the right place.
Jeter, he has had power and consistency all year, though. That's the thing you've basically been able to count on. All season long, he'll give you the same basic numbers, same performance every weekend.
Wheels in the air, a dynamite lead for Randy Daniels. Is it going to be enough?
Jeter, same thing he has done all season long. Nickel and diming him to death, a 760 at 176 miles an hour. Daniels an 878 at 114.
And Jeter is now batting .500 in final round appearances, 2 for 4.
There you see the top 5 in points after action wraps up here in Memphis. To the far end.
Brad Jeter, Jackie Beck, Miss Winston, Jim Palmieri from Pennsville. Hey, all you people, shake hands. We got a big winner here.
Thank you. I tell you what, I've past few races we've been down a little bit, and I've been down on myself. And I tell you, it feels good to come back and finally win a race. And my guys are stuck with me, and they've done a good job, especially my family. This is a family-backed operation. We don't have a sponsor. We're searching for one for next year, and hey, better than anything than to have a sponsor on this truck right now. All this exposure. Help us. We'll do a good job.
Hey, winning the Winston Championship ain't bad either. He could do it.
Very definitely could do it. Lot of smiles. Now it's time for Pro Stock Bike. Here's the way things went in eliminations. On one side of the ladder, Star Racing's Fred Collis taking on point leader Matt Hines in the semis. Let's take you back to the semifinal highlights earlier today. This is an interesting matchup. This is a gimme, right?
And George Bryce makes no bones about it. Collis has been brought in as a team bike to Angel Sealing to try to take out some of the competition. And boy, did he ever do that, Eli.
Folks, that was almost perfect on the reaction time. .401. .400 is perfect. So Collis does the job, eliminates Matt Hines with a 734 for Hines at 183 miles an hour. So while the celebrating continues there, we look at the bottom half of the ladder. Angel Sealing had to get by some pretty tough customers, including David Schultz in the semis, to make her way to the finals right here on the Team Winston Suzuki.
Well, Angel, after watching Matt Hines completely dominate the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis, took every point possible. This was their answer. Bring in this Collis kid, and now the two race each other. And I know these people pretty well. They're going to race for this.
Certainly hope so, because we've seen in the past in cars and bikes that there have been some shenanigans in the past where some folks just don't make the wholehearted effort or don't even come to the green.
Well, Angel made that mistake at Topeka a few years ago, heard the boos of the crowd, and she's never going to do that again. Plus, it's college. You can't deprive him of a chance to win an NHRA national event. Hollis uncharacteristically late. Mike not handling real well on the big end. Hollis has the quicker elapsed time, and Gell takes the win here in Memphis on this hot, sticky night with a better reaction time.
43 to a 51 for Collis. Watch it again under the lights of the Memphis Motorsports Park. If Angel didn't win this matchup, you would have been able to knock me over with a feather.
Well, she has, so no feather will be needed, Eli. And she's, I believe, back in the points lead as well.
Indeed, she is. Doing our quick calculations here. Meanwhile, Bob's at the far end.
Miss Winston giving the trophy to the rider for Team Winston. Jim Palmieri from Pennzoil stepping in, and we have a new leader in the clubhouse in the battle for that Winston championship.
I know I'm supposed to be a lot more excited than I am right now, but Fred Collis is an awesome racer, and he had me so nervous just now that I just messed up my run, but fortunately I had a better light than he did. Team Winston and Star Racing, obviously with both bikes in the final round, are doing one hell of a job, and to all my family that's here rooting me on, thanks, guys.
Angel Sealing wins again. Fred Collis across the way. So the points look like that. Boy, it's going to be a dandy down the stretch of this season. But we're not done. The Kid is next. Pro Stock when we come back. Glad you've stayed with us on a late night here in Memphis, Tennessee after rains all weekend and some qualifying even this morning. We're now down to the Pro Stock finals. Eli Gold, Steve Evans, Bob Fry, Richie the Kid Stevens in the finals against Mike Edwards.
Some of these crews, especially in the nitro cars, have to be getting tired, Eli. They never do 5 rounds in a single day. And with that qualifying session early, if you're in the finals, you've been in 5 rounds of racing.
And you know, just in general, though today's been a decent day, a long day, when it rains at a racetrack, as it has this weekend, there's nothing worse. I mean, it is as boring and as tiring as watching it rain as anything you can imagine.
And you can tell they're fanning the door, trying to get some cool air in on Richie Stevens. It's still plenty warm in Memphis town.
Kind of humid.
All right, could this one be one off the starting line? You betcha it could be.
That has been the storyline for both of these guys. The Kid at the age of 20 gives nothing up to Edwards when it comes to reaction time.
The Kid, the graduate of NHRA's junior dragster program, the first one to go to the professional ranks. 3-staged. They gonna play any games here? Nope. The Kid's in. He stages first almost every time.
Mike's taking his time. Now he's in. Good reaction time for Edwards. Good drag race. Edwards gets it a 697 to Stevens 693, but it was the reaction time of a 42 to the reaction time of a 49.
Second consecutive national event victory for Mike Edwards. Unlike Topeka, where he did it all on the starting line, here today he had a combination of Steve Schmidt horsepower and his good driving to put away the field.
It sounds like a broken record, folks, but the reaction time in this series, as in any, is the story.
Congrats to car owner Mary Lou Kite. Keep it up, Mary Lou.
Let's go to the far end. Trophy time.
You're making a habit out of this, aren't you?
This is a 690 running, 420 light getting, 2-time in a row national event winning, Mike Edwards.
Give me some of that, Bob. I'll tell you what, this last week, Bob, has been incredible for the Duco Chevrolet, JK, Mary Lou Kite, John Kite, the man that gave me all the chances in the world. I tell you what, I wish he was here today, but someday we'll see him again. And I got to thank God for this day and for this win, and because my strength comes from him, Bob. Thank you.
A man of few words, but he makes them all count, Mike Edwards does. So the Pro Stock points, that's how they look right now with the season winding its way down. Now it's time for Funny Car. Tony Pedregon.
As far as I'm concerned, God created funny cars to run at night.
Tommy Johnson Jr. Gotta love watching that flame just belch out of those header pipes.
It is so much a part of this sport, that unburned nitro that ignites in the air, looking up at the wings on top fuel cars and the side of the bodies on these funny cars. And also those header pipes provide tremendous downforce down the racetrack, which is why if you lose a cylinder, it's going to steer to that side.
And for the folks at home and the folks here in the grandstands, it gives you a good visual way to see who's working well and who's not.
I'll tell you something else. You can tell from the far end of the racetrack where Bob Fry is who leaves first with these nitro cars. The flames come up on one, the flames come up on the other.
The amazing thing is, and I know you've experienced it many times, to me it's still kind of new, standing down at the far end as I did in some of the elimination, or actually the qualifying rounds, you see the cars leave, you see the flames, they finish their run, and then the sound gets to you down there.
Yep, it depends on which way the wind's blowing.
It's amazing.
Body up, that's a standard operating procedure on a lot of these funny cars.
Not for all of them.
No, especially, though, the four-zone cars. And this is Tony Pedregon. The Centec cars won 3 races this year.
Yep, they've got the headline, they've got the name, but remember, Tommy Johnson Jr. been one of the hottest men of late.
Oh, yeah. Tommy Johnson Jr. might even be the favorite here, really.
The finals in funny car. Something's wrong with Pedregon. Tommy Johnson wins again, a 499 at 300 miles an hour. And again, you see the flame beneath the Syntec machine. Those problems manifesting themselves just a few feet from the start.
They've had a lot of damage this year to the engines in the John Force camp, and here's another one. Look at TJ, a 4-4 light, black tracking its way down the racetrack. You saw sparks coming out of the headers, and when he pedaled the car to try to regain traction, the motor doesn't like that. And it done blowed up. That's what it did.
It done did.
Great lead. You can tell by the header flames that they left together.
Watch Pedregon going away. Has to pedal it. That's the end of his run, basically.
Second pedal.
And look at Tommy right down Broadway. Shuts her down at the finish. He coasts to the far end. And Bob Fry is there with all to greet him.
Talk about a guy that must love this racetrack. If memory serves me correctly, your last top fuel win came here at this racetrack.
Yes,
now you get your second win in the funny car here, man. That's awesome.
It's great. You know, I gotta thank Joe Gibbs for the opportunity. Interstate, Hot Rod, Pontiac, MBNA, Circuit City, Champion, all the people that work with this team. These guys, they're a great group of guys, and I couldn't ask for any better to get involved with. And thank you, everybody. This is great.
I just got to ask you, extra special beating the guys you did here in the last couple of rounds?
Well, it don't get any bigger than those two guys on the John Force team. You know, beating Force in the semis was great. We wanted to go after it in the final, not get let down. You know, beating Force, you kind of get let down. You think you won, but Tony was a great competitor, and we knew we couldn't leave it down. What'd it run?
Ran a 499.
Oh, is that all? Consistency. That's why we're here. Wes Cerny, thank you.
Good bunch of folks, and he's right. Like you talked about before, you can't let down after you beat John Force just because you've done that.
That's right. Race is not over yet. The points battle is probably over yet, though. 17-39 for Force. Look at the difference. And his closest reserve is his own guy. Well, here's a man who hasn't seen a lot of final round action. He will when we come back.
Jim Head against Doug Herbert next for Top Fuel's Top Honors. Doug Herbert. Jim Head. Distinctly different styles of burnouts, distinctly different styles of people, too.
Oh, absolutely. They couldn't be more different. The graduate engineer, Jim Head, the tinkerer, the experimenter, now doing these little short burnout for whatever reason. And big old glutey, Doug Herbert. This is his 6th final of the year. He's won 3. For a career best by far, trying to move up, take that 11 to make it a 4 or 5, maybe even a 1.
They made a change a few weeks ago when Dick LaHaye moved on to Don Prudhomme's operation, preparing for next year. And Jim Head, he's no pushover. I mean, he's won the U.S. Nationals in Top Fuel and in Funny Car. I mean, the guy's good, but it's not been a vintage 1999.
Now, this is his first final round appearance, and let's remember Larry Frazier, who took over crew chief duties for Doug Herbert. What a wonderful job Frazier has done. So this is it, and then there were 2 in Memphis.
Well, not pretty on either side. They're going to pedal in. Herbert's going to pedal his way to a win. Second in a row, a 563 at 261. Jim Head ends with a 624 at 279 miles an hour. It was not a pretty one.
And Herbert only won because he had more momentum than Head did when it lost traction. You see, Head got sideways all over the place. Dougie pedaled it once, twice, 3 times.
A winner.
4 times. There's a wonder there's still a motor between the frame rails of that car. They don't like that.
Doug Herbert's a winner.
Jackie Beck, Miss Winston, Jim Palmer from Pennsylvania. You probably don't remember this, but he gave you this trophy down in Houston. Every time he shows up, you win.
Congratulations. Thanks. Thanks, Bob Fry. Thanks to, Memphis. We're having a great day. Snap-on Tools, Ray Bess's Clutches, Doug Herbert Performance Parts. My kids, John and James and Jesse at home. We're having some fun.
Up to within striking distance, the points now.
Within striking distance, that's right. Oh, boy, what a great day. I don't know what to say. What a great deal.
Now let's take out our abacus and cipher these together. He's up to 4th now. Doug Herbert, we kind of guessed that would be how it would shake down. Oh, I'm telling you, this is still very much up for grabs. By the way,
it's running a flat line that runs through the belt line of the car.
Crew for winning 2 races in a row and climbing up to 4th in the top fuel points chase. And folks, if you have a chance to buy a ticket to see one of these upcoming NHRA Winston drag racing events, because the point championships are going to be something to watch unfold. That's what we've seen this weekend from Sells East to race another day. Congratulations to all of our winners here in Memphis. For Steve Evans, for Bob Fry, I'm Eli Gold. Thanks for joining us on TNN Motorsports. So long, everybody.